And almost there. We are live. What is it? Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. Mitch is going to say 100%, at least 100 times on this podcast.
I don't know. I've been slacking lately on that. I greased the wheel last night. I was randomly jumped on my buddy's live stream with like 3 other people, and outside of him, I didn't know anybody. So I guess I fell back into my default ways and dropping 100%. So because they don't know. 100%.
Let's see, getting these announcements out. Let people. Oh, we should probably jump in Discord and unmute.
I'm in there. I just got to unmute.
And announcements are live. Threads open. Sweet. So I'd say we kick this off with a little bit of a LeoVerse update, since there's been so many things going on lately. As I feel like there always are. But yeah, but we definitely hit a new peak for delivering and rolling out updates. If you've been paying attention to Cub, I mean, there's been a ridiculous number of updates there, so I'll get to that. And if you've been using the LeoFinance UI, there's been a ton of updates too. So a lot of updates both on the social side and on the DeFi side. So let's start with social stuff. So with LeoFinance.io, we did a lot of different things. I would say probably the biggest development is essentially a rebuild of the Threads backend. So, we've got different names for that, but, you could call it Threads engine or, just the Threads backend if you want, or even Lightning, because it is closely related to Lightning. This backend essentially pulls content from the Hive blockchain, and it also talks to the Hive blockchain in order to store content. So this is essentially how all of the threads are organized and displayed on the UI and get fed back through, kind of that feedback loop of threads. We essentially rebuilt it and created a better way for threads to be loaded and stored and read from the chain. So, it's kind of this double buffer system, as Kula Cool likes to explain it as, which is kind of similar to this concept in gaming, where you basically have this buffering, where things are loading in the background as opposed to loading on the front end and slowing things down. So, in layman's terms, it's essentially this massive performance update and scaling update that allows a lot more data to be loaded on the back end of your browser and through the back end of Threads on this Threads engine, instead of loading it all on the front end and creating kind of this clunky, slow user experience. So that's kind of where we were at with the back end developments. We've been working on it for a few weeks to get it rolled out. And if you were using Threads, prior to, because we actually rolled this out live on the last AMA, if anyone remembers, last week. If you were using Threads prior to the last AMA, you'll notice a huge performance increase since this update rolled out last week. And every single day since then, we've kind of tweaked a few things as we saw it live in production and saw some more stuff, some more low-hanging fruit that we could tackle. So if you've been using Threads this past week, I mean, it's lightning fast. It's really insane to see how fast it is. It's as fast, maybe even faster than Twitter in a lot of different ways, which is really cool, because obviously Twitter is pulling from a centralized database. We're pulling from a decentralized blockchain, which is a lot more difficult than just pulling from some data that we have in our own data center. Actually, kind of a curious thing is that the front end is technically pulling kind of from a centralized database, because what we've basically done with this double buffering is the back end is holding its own copy of all the content, and that's communicating directly with the Hive blockchain. The front end is every few minutes, it communicates with that database, which is communicating with the blockchain. So it's kind of like this, instead of having it all bottlenecked one way, we kind of have this multi setup, and it's kind of interesting how that works, but that's basically how we achieved all of this performance. It's really cool to see how it works, you know, in production and live, and, you know, with a couple hundred people using it on a daily basis. It's super fast. So I've been using Threads a lot more ever since that update. It's a lot more enjoyable, especially on my iPhone, because essentially until the app is ready, I just use the web app of leofinance.io/threads, and, you know, I'll be, you know, driving or in line getting a coffee or something, and have a quick thought and just open Threads and thread it out real quick. Whereas before, you know, if I wanted to do that, I had to kind of load Threads for like 30 seconds before I could even make a thread post. So this update is super nice for making those quick threads, and it's really how the user experience is supposed to be. And then if you saw the update this morning, so I'll post it in Discord. We posted an update on the @LeoFinance account today, talking about the newest update, which is V0.4. So V0.3 was the big performance update. V0.4 includes some new feeds and some new ways to view threads, including a profile page. So now you can see my threads, which is like the threads that you've created on your profile. It organizes them based on the user that created them. So that required, you know, obviously a back end to pull that data, and then a front end to display it. So I'll drop that link for you guys if you're in Discord. And yeah, so this is a big deal, and I put it in that post, but the reason why this is such a big deal is kind of, you know, for a few different reasons. Personally, the way that I use this feature, which is, you know, if you go to your profile page and see the threads tab, it'll show you all the threads that you've created and the threads that you've replied to. The use case for this essentially is that, at least for me, when I make a thread, you know, say I made a thread 2 days ago or 2 hours ago or 10 minutes ago, I can now go to my profile page, which is, you know, for me, it's leofinance.io/Cleokazi/threads. And I can see all the threads I've created and replied to. And then I can see all the people that replied to my threads. If I want to, I can just click on any of them and reply to people. So, you know, whereas before, and I think Bitcoin Flood and a few other people have said that this was somewhat of an issue for them, it was hard to kind of keep engagement up after you had posted a thread or replied to somebody's thread, because you didn't really see, you know, when someone replied to you, the notifications tab isn't ready for threads yet. So, you know, you didn't really see people replying to you. And it was kind of hard to have like circular engagement. Instead, you kind of just threw up a thread and never engaged with anybody again. And obviously that's not what we want. You know, Twitter, the reason why it's so popular is because you can engage and then keep engaging and get notifications when people reply to you and then reply back and stuff like that. So, you know, adding them to the profile page was huge. And then the other cool part of that is that we could just open it up, which we did, where you can see any user's threads. So, you know, you can go to that same link, type in any Hive username, and you can see all the threads they've created. So a fun one I did, and because Addicted just joined the chat, I looked up Addicted's account and there's 0 threads on it. So now I know Addicted doesn't use threads, and super easy to find that out now. So basically you can see people's engagement on threads, and you can kind of jump into their conversations. And
I got him beat by one thread.
I like that. I like that. Yeah.
The one thread I did last week when we launched, and then have not done any threads since. I'm more of I seem to be more of a observer when it comes to the threads. I'm still
you got 4
content.
threads out there.
Do I?
4. Yeah.
I think that's replies maybe.
Oh yeah, 2 of them are 3 of them are replies. You're right.
Yeah. So no, I'm still mainly just doing regular blog posts, and then just that's the same thing with Twitter though. I like never put out tweets, but I like once a day I'll scan some tweets.
Yeah, we need to start hounding Scaredy Cat and Addicted. Start posting on
Addicted
threads.
Can't handle threads. It's too short. He only knows how to write 1,000-word posts.
He only knows how to write books. He can't write tweets or threads.
Addicted, you can like literally make 20 threads just from like one of your posts. Just chop it up.
Just take one of your posts and chop it. Create a thread out of your
Drive people
posts.
insane. That'll be hilarious.
Thought
experiment.
I do want to, that's just kind of a cool feature for the future that I want to do is something where it will auto break your post into threads, and it'll create a thread out of your post for you. So you just like click a button and it'll do it. That's something I would like to do at some point. I don't know when we're going to get to it, but it would be a cool way to get people to create threads, especially like imagine Addicted could click a button after he creates a post, and it creates like 50 threads out of his post, and publishes them. And then he can just reply to people who reply to the threads instead of creating them. It would be cool. Yeah, he's saying, I feel, what did he say? My privacy has been infringed. That's kind of funny. That's funny. You have no privacy. This is a blockchain. The US government, all of your blockchain belong to the US government.
And well, isn't that the point of a blockchain? Transparency?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and that's, what, that is an interesting dynamic when you talk about it. Because like when I tell normies about, like even just the Bitcoin blockchain, and you talk about how it's anonymous, but at the same time, it's not, because it's just like, if as soon as I give you my wallet address to send me some crypto, then you can essentially see what that wallet address has ever done. So then essentially, what I'm doing, what I'm holding. Like, yeah, you can obviously move stuff around and all that goodness and use shadow games. But if someone really wants to dig, once they have, a wallet address, they have an idea of at least somewhat what you're doing. So it's anonymous and at the same time not.
Right. It's true. Very true. Yeah, I heard you can say good morning on threads and get some magic internet money. I heard that too.
I have not heard that. I will try that. I need some magic internet money.
Yeah, you got to use the hashtag GM friends.
Interesting.
And then you'll get free money.
Can I'll tag some music to it. What's that hip hop song? It's Beautiful Morning. I'll find it and I'll put it in my thread. So I actually saw a question that is not under the AMA things, but I saw it in threads not far from your posts that I think is a good idea. So are we jumping into Q&A, or we got more updates to share?
Yeah, let me do the DeFi stuff real quick, and then let's jump into it. Oh yeah, what's the DeFi stuff?
Cub.
Cub has been super interesting lately, and I feel like a lot of people have been talking about Cub lately, on threads, on Twitter, in Discord. I've definitely seen a lot of people kind of stirring some noise up about it. The burns from the Cub DAO have essentially grown to about 15,000 Cub a day on average, which is pretty wild, because basically the mining rewards for Cub are 1 Cub per block, and there's 28,000 blocks per day on BSC. So that means that there's 28,000 Cub being created every day for the LP mining rewards. And that Cub is obviously getting paid to LPs on the platform. But then the multi-token bridge, I think I was looking at the numbers. I think as of today, the multi-token bridge hit about $460,000 in total value locked. When we put out the last Cub monthly burn report, which was on the 1st of September, I think it was about 230,000, something around there, like mid 200,000s. And so obviously, I mean, it's like basically doubled, and the burns have just kind of exponentially increased as that number keeps increasing, that total value locked number increases. So, the burns have literally gotten to 15,000 Cub a day, which is, what is that, like 52% of the total amount of Cub that's created per day. So we're now burning more than half of the print rate for Cub. What that does for the price is obviously kind of an unknown variable. I mean, if that keeps growing, and it has been so far, and let's just say that the DAO is the only buyer, so it's like the buyer of last resort, eventually that price has to go up because the DAO has to keep buying, more and more each time and every single day. So, it's not a guarantee that prices go up, but it is a guarantee that supply is getting eaten into. So that's what I'm kind of excited about and keeping my eyes on. The DAO has really been ramping up, especially with the volatility lately. So, that's kind of this interesting thing about the way the multi-token bridge works. We've got those 4 liquidity pools for bHIVE and bHBD. And those pools kind of all interact with each other. And as there's volatility in crypto, the Hive price obviously changes. Even the HBD price changes. So we saw a few days recently where the HBD price spiked and then it went back down. And those days create a lot of volume for the oracles. So you have wrapping volume and then you have arbitrage volume. And essentially the more volatility there is in crypto, the more that the DAO earns. So the last couple of days have been pretty volatile for crypto and the DAO has been doing really well. So it's kind of cool to see how that all functions. And it's all transparent and you can look at the DAO and see how it's doing it. And it's just, it's kind of cool to see that volatility kind of creating all that value. So a great way to put it is that the new model for Cub is volatility harvesting. So the entire platform has basically turned into a volatility harvesting platform where the Cub protocol allows you to bridge over Hive and HBD, pool it on the platform and earn yield. So like right now you can earn, actually as of today, you can earn 54% APY on your bHBD bHIVE. So if you're in the bHBD-bHIVE vault, you're earning 54% APY. If you're in the stablecoin vault, which is bHBD BUSD, it's paying 34% right now. And then both of the Cub pairs for bHBD Cub and bHIVE-Cub are paying over 41%. So you can wrap your Hive and HBD over and earn all that yield. And obviously the yield is pretty nice right now. And it has been doing well. And in exchange, you're creating liquidity. And that liquidity is creating an opportunity for users to buy Hive and HBD if they want to buy it on PancakeSwap or sell it. So they can also sell through those exchanges. So it's essentially a whole new exchange listing for Hive and HBD. And then you're also creating this opportunity for arbitragers. So arbitragers outside of the DAO itself, and then also the DAO itself. And that all of that kind of coincides to create this model of volatility harvesting where, if the Hive price goes up 10% on centralized exchanges, then the bHIVE price has to follow it because our arbitrage is going to bring that back to equilibrium. So as that's happening, the DAO is earning from wrapping fees and it's earning from internal arbitrage. And then you've got that third method, which is always running in the background, which is the Oracle staking, which if you remember that last Hive spike where Hive went up like 90% in one day, and the bHIVE Oracle had some problems. We used to have Oracle staking for Hive, but now we're not doing that anymore. So, that 13-week power down is too long to have Oracle staking when you've got those random pumps out there in the Universe. So HBD is obviously different because there's only a 3-day unstaking time. So really what you need to do, which is kind of how most exchanges operate, like Binance and Coinbase and every exchange out there, the oracles do the exact same thing, which is, keep day-to-day funds liquid and ready to be exchanged, and then keep some in a cold wallet or staked in this case. So, that's kind of the new model we're operating under. But you really have got those 3 methods of generating revenue. So 2 of them are highly focused on volatility harvesting, which is wrapping fees, internal arbitrage. So as the prices of assets are changing, and they always are, and crypto is a great thing for this because markets are open 24/7, the oracles are generating wrapping revenue, and internal arbitrage is generating even more revenue for the DAO. And then all of that revenue is being spun up, taken into the DAO contract, and that DAO contract buys Cub at randomized intervals, and then it burns it every single day. So it's really, really fascinating to watch how this has grown and how it's grown so quickly, because the bridge launched on Cub in August, which was last month. And so last month before the bridge launched, there was 517,000 cub that was burned up until that point. So that's March 2021, which is when cub launched, up to August 2022, which is about 18 months. We burned 517,000 cub. Since August, which is last month, so about 6, I think it's closing in on 7 weeks now. We've burned, now there's 918,000 cub total burned. So we burned 400,000 cub in the last 7 weeks. And by the end of this month, we'll have burned over 300,000 cub throughout the month of September. And then we burned 200,000 in August. So through 2 months of the multi-token bridge being live, we've burned more cub than was burned in the first 18 months of the entire platform being live. So pretty amazing to see that in action, and pretty cool to see it grow. So the burns grew 50% by a factor of 50% from August to September. And I'm kind of expecting a similar number from September to October. And hopefully we can keep that growth going. So pretty cool to see how much cub is getting burned. There is, if you do the math on cub block rewards, there's 1 cub created per block for LP mining incentives. And there's 28,000 blocks per day, which means there's 840,000 cub being created every month. So this month we're burning 300,000 cub and 840,000 is created. So, you know, how long does it take for the DAO to be burning more than 840,000 cub? It's doesn't seem like it's that far off after just 2 months of being in operation. So I kind of have this running joke now, which is don't buy too much cub. Kind of let the DAO eat up the supply right now. And let's, you know, I don't mind a cub price of 2 cents when the DAO is buying hundreds of thousands of cub every single month. So that's kind of where cub's at. It's definitely cool to see. And the multi-token bridge is really the focus. So we need to focus on growing the liquidity in the bridge. That's for bHBD and bHIVE, because that liquidity exponentially growing is what's going to create more wrapping revenue, arbitrage volume, and obviously the staking revenue. So that's the focus for DeFi and for cub. It's Addicted saying it's going to be interesting to see if you can hold 5% of the total supply with so much getting burned. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about burning the supply, right? Like over time, as those burns continue and we see the circulating supply get reduced, how long does it take for the price to start going up? And as the price goes up, you know, someone like Addicted is going to get, you know, more incentivized to sell some cub back into the market. And who's he going to be selling that cub to? Obviously, he's selling it through automated market makers, but you know, as he's selling cub, the DAO is buying that cub. So it kind of reshuffles the balance of all the holders in kind of an interesting way. So yeah, I'm curious to see, you know, obviously this has only been 7 weeks, so I'm curious to see where we land, you know, next month and the month after. I think a lot of people's sentiment about cub is going to change, you know, come October 1st, when the newest cub burn report is released, and people kind of see that those ridiculous figures of revenue. It's
when moon.
Yeah, when moon. We don't know, but we do know that the supply is getting burned. When burn every single day,
which could lead to when moon.
True.
I mean, it's, you know, a built-in buyer.
Yep.
Everything comes down to supply and demand.
Exactly.
You kind of created your own Fed.
Yep. The DAO is now the Fed. It's the Fed DAO.
The Fed DAO has all your cub.
Nifty.
Be happy to sell it at a premium, much higher than where we are now.
Yeah. I think we could jump into a few questions. Nifty asks, when cub, polycub price stickers on the Threads UI? Soon. Probably. I don't know. We might not add them. I don't know. We might add them to the, I haven't really thought about it, but I guess we could add them to the left sidebar or something. You know, one idea for the future, this is on like the long-term roadmap, is adding more modular features to the UI where, let's say that you want to have the cub polycub tickers, or let's say that you even want to have just the polycub ticker, or just the cub ticker, or the Bitcoin ticker, or the Ethereum ticker. the idea is you'd go to your settings page and you'd be able to customize the UI to be what you want it to be. It's kind of one of those long-term features. Yeah, modular UI would be sick. Yeah, it would be great. There's a lot of things that I have kind of on this long-term roadmap that I would love to add, which is, modular UI would be at the top of that list. Not just for price stickers, but there's a lot of other things you could do. And there's some cool tie-ins that you can do with NFTs. So, I mean, this is all kind of in that, this is in the not so sooniverse.
There's always much in the sooniverse.
Yep.
So I saw in Threads, I will probably butcher this name, but I guess it's solely me. Wrote, I would love a Leo internal marketing option so we can buy ad space with Leo. And then it also says, what if Hive and HBD can be spent for doing advertisements on LeoFinance? So, I mean, the gist of it is basically if someone wants to buy ad space on LeoFinance and, use Leo and or Hive or HBD to pay for that, I don't think that's a terrible idea to have that option out there.
No, I think that's a great idea. It's something that a few people have asked for, Hive projects and non-Hive projects. We actually do get a decent amount of email flow asking about if people can advertise on LeoFinance, from various crypto projects and companies. This is something that I would like to get into. The key for us would be building an automated system that can handle this, because I don't want to, definitely I don't want to spend my own time, but I don't even really want to have someone on the team be spending time kind of dealing with a lot of different people that are trying to buy ad space. Because I assume, especially, directly on Hive, a lot of people want to buy, say, $10, 10 HBD worth of ad space. And if I have someone from the team spend 2 hours helping that person create an ad that fits the website, because it's got to be a specific size, and then adding that to, our config file to make sure that it shows correctly, by the time they've spent the time doing that, it's no longer worth it. But if we can create an automated system where, people can basically go to a section of the website, say like leofinance.io/ad, and they can, basically upload their ad file, and the website will tell them what dimensions, and it will tell them if it's not the correct dimensions. And they can upload that file, and along with that, they'll get like a link to send HBD or Hive or even like Bitcoin or USDT or BUSD or whatever, any coin. Definitely putting priority on like Leo, Hive, and HBD. I think those would be like the top three, and then you'd have some other crypto support, especially if we start getting advertisers from outside of the Hive blockchain ecosystem, which I think we would. You basically need to have that entire process, that entire order flow automated to make it economically make sense. Otherwise, you've got the team, our team spending time, which is obviously, a pretty valuable resource for us because we're always running out of time working on these updates, spending time, formatting ads and making sure they look good on the website. So I definitely see a future where we do that. Probably not so distant. I would say that it would probably be more soon than later, if I had to guess.
No, that makes sense, the automation. Otherwise, I mean, if you can't automate and you have to have actually someone manually do it, then I guess the quick fix is just create a minimum threshold. So it's like, minimum ad spend is $100 or whatever number, makes it make sense.
Right.
Just another way to generate revenue to burn, baby, burn.
100%.
In fact, I forgot all about that. Just like, Leo itself, being burned. I remember when that was kind of like, all eyes were on that, so to speak, back in the early days when that was the only coin to burn.
Back in the early days of the Sooniverse.
Before Cal had everyone's coins. Yeah. Cool.
I got another question from How's That on Threads. How did you find Threads after the recent update? I feel like he's asking more asking the community to jump in there and leave commentary. So if you're listening to this, go to leofinance.io/@how's_that, and then you can /threads, and then you can find the thread that he created. Brand new feature, fresh out of the factory. And you can find that and reply to it and tell How's That how you found Threads, and if you like it. John Tim says thread speed has improved so much after initial launch, like night and day. The threads by profile filter is my favorite improvement so far after the speed improvement. So yeah, I mean, I would say those are definitely at the top of the list for me. The speed probably being the biggest one that really improved the user experience for me. Like I said, sometimes I'll just be in line and want to make a quick thread about something. And before we launched this performance update, I was kind of standing there and I would have to remember it or write it down on a note file and then open Threads and let it load for 30 or 45 seconds before I could even start typing, which is obviously just kind of a pain in the ass. So it's nice having this much speed because I literally just open Threads on my phone. Let's see if I can just do it really quick. Literally, so I'm going to hit Threads. I don't know if you can see it, but literally hit Threads. It's open in a few seconds. And now I just hit thread. And then I'm creating a thread. So having a user experience that fast is really key to getting more people to use it. Yeah. Also, I wasn't just flexing because I got the iPhone 14 now.
The hell if I would have noticed. Android for life.
Uh-oh.
Never get me off Android.
At least we got some diversity in here. You're Android, I'm iPhone. You're Windows, I'm Mac.
That's
I'm
true.
an Apple
cultist. My God. Can't stay. Yeah, I'm like an anti-Apple cultist. In fact, I think that's why I'm so anti-Apple, because I hate anything that like just gets that like cult feel to it. Kind of like same thing with Tesla. Like, yeah, I own some Tesla, but I probably would have owned a lot more if I didn't get annoyed by all the Tesla cult boys.
Yeah, I mean, the Tesla cult does get pretty crazy sometimes. I would say I'm definitely a little bit a part of the cult. Not super culty, but a little bit.
Hey, it worked. I mean, that stock just made bank. And same thing with Apple. I mean, you got to remember, I grew up back in the day, like, when Apple was like the stock of stocks. That was like me in my 20s, and everyone's Apple. And I'm just like, you know what? Enough of this damn Apple nonsense. But should I just bought up all the? I've literally never owned any Apple stock, so really, I'm just taking missed opportunities with my stubbornness.
I've owned Apple and Tesla stock. I'm a big fan of the cult model, huge fan, and I mean maybe that even bleeds into Leo, and you can see kind of how we do things. It's keeping people inside the cult is the key.
You get them in the ecosystem,
right? You get them into the ecosystem, and you keep them in there.
Yeah, Apple's got a complete ecosystem. Amazon's got a complete ecosystem. It's like get them in and don't give them a reason to leave. Because it's like, oh, I need this. Oh, we have that too. Oh, I need this. Oh, we have that too. It's like, oh, never. Before you even know it, it's just like, wait, what happened? It's essentially the song "Hotel California" by the Eagles. You can check in, but you can never leave. So as far as the threads speed increasing again, refresh me on what the recent change was, because I'm trying to do a when soon show recap.
Yeah. So I covered that a little at the beginning.
It's basically forgot the details.
It's basically a rewrite of the back end, and that back end, it created this new system for storing and retrieving and also communicating with the Hive blockchain. And that new system is vastly more efficient than what we had before. So actually before we had threads used to load through Lightning. So they were loading purely through Lightning. And now what we've done is created basically a separate backend, which is called, we're kind of calling it Threads Engine unofficially. And that separate backend is communicating with Hive by itself. It's not using Lightning anymore. So if you remember on the last AMA, that's why I mentioned that if you use the LeoFinance UI completely, like, you use it for blogging, commenting, threads, everything, community pages, you'll notice since that Threads update that actually the whole UI has gotten faster. And the reason for that is instead of using Lightning for Threads, now Threads has its own engine and its own backend. So all that basically heavy load that was getting pushed onto Lightning, that bottlenecking is not happening to Lightning anymore. So Lightning is kind of free and clear from all that bottlenecking from Threads. So now the rest of the UI loads a lot faster, and Threads loads faster because now it's on a separate engine. So it's actually like it's kind of like a kill two birds with one stone type of thing, where creating that Threads engine actually lightened the load on Lightning, which made the rest of the UI faster, kind of unintentionally but intentionally. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty big update, and it's really changed the way that Threads work. Like I said, I mean, it's like before I would be on my iPhone, like, on my web browser on leofinance.io, and I would like want to make a thread, and I'd be like, all right, let me create a thread real quick while I'm in line. I'd be loading threads, and by the time I'm done loading threads, I'm at the front of the line, and I'm like, well, I can't make a thread. And now I just open my phone, hit threads on my favorites tab, and it just takes me right there, and I can write instantly. So
yeah, that's a huge update. I mean, it's basically, like I said, it's like double impact from one change. And the load speed is key, because the reality is you have basically 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. What the fuck? Why isn't this loading? I'm about to be out. That's the window.
Yep.
So if you don't pretty much load up in like 3 seconds, if it takes longer than that, that's generally when you already start losing people.
Definitely.
So that is a awesome update.
Kind of along similar lines. A question from, what is this, RM Sadkri? I don't know if I said that right. Is the team working to integrate Thread and Twitter so that Thread posts automatically generate tweets? I'm not sure how tough it is to integrate those two services. Would help for visibility. Yeah, that's that is actually something that I talked about over the last couple of months. When I was teasing people about Threads, is kind of this idea that, kind of a multifold idea, which is, one, if you are a Twitter user, and let's say you're like a power crypto Twitter user, when you load up an account on LeoFinance, which obviously creates you an account on Hive, so it's a Hive blockchain account. When you create that account through the leofinance.io website or through Threads, for example, it'll ask you, this is in the future, obviously, it'll ask you to connect your Twitter account. And if you connect your Twitter account, you can also select an option where it says back up your tweets. And what that will do is basically take all the tweets you've ever created on Twitter, and it will post them to the Hive blockchain as threads, and basically just create a backup of all your tweets. And then also you can select another option and say, from this point forward, if you create a tweet on Twitter, it'll post it on Threads. If you create a thread on Threads, it'll post it on Twitter. So this is kind of the long-term vision for Threads, which is kind of like this seamless jumping between Twitter and Threads. And obviously we don't want everyone on Twitter, creating tweets and then just backing them up to Threads. That still has value for us. And obviously it creates engagement. It creates threads and content that can be engaged with. But we still want to keep kind of, similar to that last conversation we were just having about having a kind of a cultish ecosystem. We want people to use leofinance.io. We don't want them to use other UIs, and we don't want them to use Twitter. We want them to be on LeoFinance for various reasons. One major one being ad revenue for Leo. So yeah, I mean, ultimately we're going to get to this place of, this kind of seamless jumping back and forth between Web 2 and Web 3, which kind of goes to a bigger thesis that I buy into, which is that, there's kind of like this Web 2.5 era where it's going to take a long time for Web 3 to get fully integrated into society and kind of have these Web 2 platforms die off. in my opinion. What you're going to see is kind of these hybrid platforms and a lot of seamless integrations between Web3 and Web2. You're not going to just see like, oh, tomorrow Twitter dies and Threads lives on, and you're not going to see that. You're going to see a very seamless kind of long-term integration between Web2 and Web3. It's not going to be like night and day. It's going to be a slow grind.
Oh, absolutely. I think that holds true for any major shifts. 20 years from now, we'll still have probably Twitter and it's doing its thing, and then also plenty of Web3s like Threads.
Yep.
And there'll be many other, lookalikes for Web3. We're only in the beginning. Which is so key though, because if you really think about it, early to the game in regards to Web3 short form, there'll be 5 years from now, there'll be someone launching something like this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Hive, and obviously it used to be called Steam, but I feel like our technology as a community, as the Hive community, has always been way far and away ahead of the rest of the crypto industry. There's a few different reasons for that. There's pros and cons to it. But even Addicted and Tony Montana were talking in Discord earlier today about the ETH merge and how actually Steam did Steam moved from proof of work to proof of stake, 5 years ago. And you didn't really see it make a whole lot of headlines compared to how Ethereum's done it. So it's like our technology has been so far ahead, but Tony's counterpoint was there wasn't as much to lose for Steam. Like, it was a small little community, small little blockchain. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of money at stake. There wasn't a lot of apps. Essentially, the only app that was at stake was Steam itself. So, it's got kind of the pros and cons of being small and nimble. It's the same thing like a company, small and nimble versus large and, not immovable, but hard to move.
It's the difference between turning a speedboat and turning a ship.
Exactly. See you later.
Yeah, I mean,
how's that? See you next
That's
time.
What's funny too, because Steam/Hive. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I hitched my wagon so hard to Steam back in the day, because I'm just like, this is so much better than so many of the other blockchains. Like, this has got to blow up, and it just never did, in terms of just usage and user base. But there's an ecosystem now, obviously, that lives on Hive and that continues to grow, but it's nothing like Ethereum. So sometimes, better doesn't necessarily mean most popular.
Right. Well, and sometimes it's good. Like I said, sometimes it's good to not be the most popular. You can make fast changes, have really good tech, and then one day in the future, when your tech is, really well polished and you've got amazing, foundations, you can then bring in the users after.
Agreed.
And then also, that being said, Hive still has one of, if not the largest community of real users in terms of like daily active users out there. The only thing that might rival it are like DeFi and NFT apps that have grown recently. But in terms of like long-term usage of a blockchain, Hive is light years ahead.
Indeed. Well, the ecosystem continues to grow.
Nifty said, any news on the Leo ads mechanic being launched? Yeah, there hasn't been any news recently. I think someone asked me on the AMA a few weeks ago about that system. So we're still developing the smart contracts that will essentially, because what he's talking about is, and Mitch, you talked about this too, is the system for the ads mechanic on LeoFinance used to be it would buy and burn Leo. And since then, we decided to switch the model to something where there's a DAO contract for Leo, and that contract is earning revenue from the ads on LeoFinance because they're distributed decentralized ads. And all that money gets pooled into the DAO contract. And that DAO contract then goes out to the Leo pools. So B Leo, W Leo, and P Leo, and it buys Leo on a daily basis, and it kind of stockpiles Leo. And then, over time, it starts to basically take that Leo and add it to Leo power balances. So anyone who's got Leo power, your Leo power will kind of tick up. And Hive actually does this, but it does it through inflation. I think it's like 2.9% or something per year, where if you have Hive power, so like let's say you've got 1,000 Hive power, after a year, you'll have 1,000 Hive power plus like 2.9%. So your Hive power balance will just increase slowly every single day. So it's kind of the same idea there, but instead of coming from inflation, the Leo that would be added to your Leo power balance would actually be it would be coming from the Leo ads contract, which would be buying that Leo and then obviously technically airdropping it onto Leo power holders on a regular basis. So there hasn't been any news lately. We're still working on the contract. That contract is going to take quite a bit of testing to make sure that it works. So what we're going to do is essentially roll it out in like a closed beta kind of thing where, we'll have a few dollars get funneled into it and it'll kind of test it with really tiny amounts. So you may start seeing the testing of that pretty soon. Maybe even sometime in October, you'll start seeing us testing in very small increments, just to make sure nothing goes horribly wrong. Very small increments, you'll see testing of buying Leo and distributing it to a multitude of accounts in terms of Leo power balances. That's a pretty complex contract. That. Yeah.
Definitely complex. So basically what it was, so in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, so LeoFinance ad revenue used to be used to just buy and burn Leo, and now the goal was to take that or a portion of that and distribute Leo to Leo power holders.
Yeah, so the DAO, so essentially what we've done is set up a DAO address, and that address will basically, right now the ad revenue just gets sent to an address. And when the contract is ready, instead of that ad revenue just getting sent to an address, it'll get sent to a DAO contract address. And that contract address will then buy W Leo, B Leo, and P Leo, also Leo on Hive Engine. But typically it won't buy on Hive Engine just because of low liquidity. But it will if let's just say like a whale dumps a bunch on one exchange like Hive Engine, the DAO will try to buy some of that. But essentially it'll buy on whatever exchange is the cheapest every single day. And it will basically hold that Leo, and then it'll distribute that Leo based on how much Leo power you have. So when that post went live, we used the example of, we actually took the real numbers of all the Leo power balances and how much ad revenue is being earned every single month. And I think it came out to like four something percent, so call it like 4.8%. So basically your Leo power balance would increase by 4.8% every single year. And that's from the ad revenue. So the ad revenue is buying back that Leo, and then your Leo power balance is growing. So the idea behind that, and you can go read that, I think I can go find that post for you. You can read that post, but the idea behind that is that, in this era of Web3, and especially if you've noticed the way that the ads work on LeoFinance, it's all crypto and decentralized. So in an era of Web3, that ad revenue can come into a smart contract, and that smart contract can give that ad revenue back to the people who actually own the platform. So the people who own the platform are Leo holders, obviously. And governance holders who are voting in the smart contracts. So that's kind of the cool system behind Web3. But what we've been working on ever since that post went live, I think it was probably like 6 months ago, is getting these smart contracts ready.
Cool stuff. Yeah, we hadn't talked about that in a long time.
Yeah.
There's so many things on the Sooniverse list. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah. See, I got it.
Nifty asked, how big of an impact is Threads having on ad revenue daily?
Good question. Yeah, so at the beginning, I actually haven't checked in a while, but at the beginning, it was a 2x in daily ad revenue. I'd say now it's probably about a 1.5x, somewhere between that and 2x. The first few days of Threads were like really huge. Like we had a lot of people flooding in to check it out. And then it's kind of leveled off a little bit. But you can still see about a 50% increase in the amount of traffic and page views. So it's had a very significant impact.
Cool.
And I do think that impact is only going to grow, as obviously as more people start to use Threads. It's and if you watch those Leo stats posts, the amount of people using Threads continues to grow, which is really cool.
Good stuff.
See a lot of people threading about the AMA.
Oh yeah, I got to get back to that one. I have 3 LeoFinance tabs open right now between writing the post, my thread that I posted, and then trying to look at the AMA thread.
But yeah,
I decided to throw
and short segments live in the AMA chat.
Live and direct. I threw in a GM friends tagged thread, even though it is the afternoon. And
it's always GM somewhere.
Couple of
I beat
AMA.
him. I beat Nifty to
that. This is true. Although right now, not Europe, not us. We got to go over to good old Asia, although that's really early morning. All righty. So I'm trying to find the AMA thread again. Are we caught up on questions in there?
I think we're caught up. I'm scrolling through. I'm at 3 hours back now, but I did tell people this morning to post questions. So Tom Hall asked, when is the next publication for the Cub report? We're doing the Cub burn reports are going to be on the 1st of every month. So the first one was September 1st. The second one will be October 1st. And we will talk about how much Cub is getting burned. I actually left a comment on that thread. On the Leo Twitter account, we've been posting, when the Dow burns, we've been kind of tracking it and posting screenshots when the Dow burns Cub. So if you've been following us on Twitter, you can definitely kind of see like those live updates. And then also I noticed that someone's been doing, I think I can't remember if it's Cub Daily or Daily Cub. Maybe it's at Daily Cub. And they're doing like a Cub daily report, which is talking about, supply, price, and multi-token bridge TVL, and kind of keeping track of it every single day with some like commentary. So I've been kind of reading those every day too, keeping up with the latest numbers for Cub. And they actually posted this. Maybe I'll post that. There's this cool chart that showed the Cub that gets burned. So if you in case you didn't know, you can go to BSC scan and you can look up a lot of different charts about how tokens flow and where they're getting sent and stuff. So here I'm pasting an image. This chart is showing the amount of Cub that was burned, and you can see going all the way back to when Cub started, when there was 0 Cub. And then obviously the amount of Cub getting burned, was ticking up for a while. And then we launched Kingdoms. So you can see the Cub kind of slowly slanting. There's that kind of slow slant in the curve. So there was always Cub getting burned every day. It was just a pretty minuscule amount from Kingdoms. And then you see like in September 2021, you see a huge tick up. And that was 200,000 Cub getting burned. That was actually from IDO number 1, which burned about 200,000 Cub. Then you see that kind of flat line again. I mean, it's still slanting upwards from the kingdom's revenue, but obviously it's pretty minuscule. So you kind of see it slanting up and slowly for the last, like, what is that? September to September, basically almost a year. It slowly was slanting upward, but nothing crazy. Then in that chart, you see right at August, when the multi-token bridge launched, you see a huge tick up. And now every single day, you just keep seeing that tick just keep going like this. So the chart has basically turned into like an exponential rocket chart. And you're just kind of seeing it, the burns, and that's just showing the amount of cub getting burned every day. You're seeing that amount just grow like crazy. So we're about to hit, on the chart, it says 1,000K. So we're about to hit 1 million in the next, probably in the next 10 days or less. We'll cross that 1 million mark. So you just keep seeing the amount of cub burn just rise exponentially. So that's a really cool metric to see. I think that's an awesome chart, and you can find that right on BSC scan. Let me see if I can get the link. Yeah, here you go. So if you go to that link that I just pasted, you can actually follow that chart at the bottom of the page, and it will just, it basically just shows you, because it's showing you bscscan.com/token/ it's a contract that ends in C1, which is the cub token contract. And then it's showing you, it's filtering for the address 0x dead, which is the dead address or the null address for BSC. So any tokens in that address are obviously irretrievable, they're burned. So it's just showing you the token analytics for that address using the cub token. So you can transparently track directly on chain, and just for yourself, you can see how much cub is getting burned, and it's
burn,
pretty
baby,
amazing.
burn. I love when the chart starts going up and to the right.
Up and to the right. Yeah, you can see actually the impact of the IDO versus the multi-token bridge. It's pretty insane. Like the multi-token bridge has twice as much of an impact as the IDO. And the IDO is obviously just that kind of one quick big hit. And the multi-token bridge is like a daily grind. So it's amazing to see that the daily grind is like ramping up. Yeah, Nifty wants it as a live wallpaper. Me too. That would be awesome.
This is cool. I'm definitely saving this. I'll be checking this out from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, I check it out every like week or two, but I saw it posted in this Cub Daily report, and I was like, yeah, I love seeing that chart. And that chart's just going to keep getting better and better looking. It's, you know,
I mean, it is going to continue to go up and to the right.
Literally.
It has no choice.
Right.
Unless all the liquidity just magically disappears.
Right. Exactly. So you're just going to constantly see it go up and to the right, see more and more.
Baby, burn.
When 2 million cub burned?
When $1 cub and cat retire?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is like, if the burns keep going at this rate, it's probably not that far off. Hopefully the price doesn't go up too quickly though, because obviously as the price of cub goes up, the DAO is able to buy less and less units. So yeah, there's kind of that cool thing about the cub price being so low, is that the per unit buyback is very high.
Well, and what's a beautiful thing is, like, we talk about that, you know, and earlier there was the question about the percentage supply being held. And, you know, I don't know if I actually am ever going to sell any cub in regards to like the stake that I hold now, right? But if the price of cub does get pushed higher, then it might be at a point where it's like, oh, sweet, let me sell, you know, my daily earnings, and maybe that's, you know, the bridge buying it, or maybe that's, you know, another user. But in the end, like, the supply is going to be needed essentially at some point.
Yeah, like
we're going to need sellers. So I'm ideally want to get to that point where I'm holding, you know, my bag of cub pretty much for the duration, and maybe I'm just selling off some daily earnings to whatever use, whether it's for living expenses or investing or whatever.
Yep.
But I don't see myself ever selling my principal, so to speak.
Yeah, it's you know, and like Addicted saying, if the cub price goes up, APR goes up, which means more incentive for outsiders to buy cub and LP, or for people to earn. Because obviously people in the LPs are earning cub. So the incentive to take the cub that you're earning and repool it for more APY is higher. So you're creating, higher liquidity pools creates more burn. So it kind of creates that revolving cycle where, it's an awesome snowball effect, like you said. It's, once you get that snowball effect going, it's hard to stop it. The key for Cub, though, and this is something that I kind of realized when we were working on the bridge, is that, we need to reach kind of like this escape velocity where, if you launch a rocket and it's not going fast enough, it's not going to reach orbit. So it essentially needs to reach a certain amount of liquidity where it's burning enough Cub every month to kind of create that snowball effect and get it kickstarted. Otherwise, we're just kind of like standing still waiting, which is somewhat where we're at right now. We're kind of in this, and obviously it's only 7 weeks old, but we're kind of in this stage where we need to see that liquidity grow, exponentially bigger if we want to see those burns, have a real impact on the supply. I mean, they kind of have already started to have a real impact. You're seeing, 50% of the supply getting burned every day, 50% of the mining rewards, but we need to see that ramp up. And I think that kind of, I think at this pace, it's definitely enough to say like, wow, the tokenomics and the outlook of Cub have completely changed. But I think once you see more Cub get burned than is actually created on a daily basis, that's kind of going to be like that psychological switch getting flipped, where it's like this, the price of Cub has to go up because it just, it's not going to sit at this price and allow the DAO to just buy up all the supply and burn it. So at that point, it kind of changes the entire outlook. But it's like I said, flippening. It's like I said in that monthly Cub report. There's two metrics for escape velocity. One is the hard line mechanic of buying more Cub and burning more Cub than is created every day. The other is the more speculative one, which is simply buying and burning more Cub than is sold every day. Because if you outpace what's being sold, that's enough to flip, deflationary in a sense, in terms of, oncoming supply to the market. So it's going to be cool to see. It's going to be cool to see. I actually think we've flipped the second metric. I think at this stage where more than 50% of the Cub being created through mining rewards is being bought and burned, I don't believe that people on the platform are selling 50% of their rewards in terms of like the whole platform. So I do actually think we've flipped that already. The question now is, how much further do we get towards that ultimate flipping of burning more than is created? How close do we get to that before the price starts going up? That's going to be interesting.
That will be interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the price pushes before that happens, or if it really just basically doesn't until that becomes the catalyst for things to go higher. Because I don't know that dynamic of who's selling, who's not. I mean, I don't directly know anyone that's selling Cub, and I haven't been, but there's a lot of users out there.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of arbitrage going on, which is always going to be feeding the whole system, which is people are buying and selling Cub. Like if you really look at it, there's a lot of slosh happening right now, where there's a lot of, selling of a bunch of Cub and then buying it back, and then HBD gets bought back, Hive gets bought back and sold, and that slosh is just really good for the bridge. So it's like I said, absolutely. The platform is now a volatility harvesting machine. So the more volatility we have, both for Cub, Hive, and HBD, the better.
So I don't know if we're caught up on questions, but if we are, we've been going for a good hour. And we always usually wrap up with some general crypto and economy talk. I know we got what, tomorrow? Tomorrow's the Fed?
Yep.
Is that right?
I think so.
Which everyone's expecting minimum 75 basis points.
Minimum 75. What do you think we're going to see?
I think we're going to see 75.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to juice. Everyone thinks they're going to juice to a full point. I could be wrong though, because they've been way more aggressive than I thought they were going to be. Period. So apparently, Powell has grabbed his sack and started making moves. I didn't really see 75 basis points happening, and it's become the theme. obviously, the economic data did not support my potential theory on them, um, you know, relaxing in September, whether it's a smaller rate increase or no increase. That once I saw that CPI number, I was like, well, that idea is out of the window. So gonna get another one, and then who knows? We'll see what happens after that. Maybe they chill, maybe they don't. Obviously, got midterm elections in November. But how that impacts crypto is a whole nother wild card. And we're floating at key levels again. Bitcoin is, flirting on the brink. I'm looking at all, even like I was looking at Rune yesterday. I'm thinking about grabbing some more, but it's like right at support. If it breaks that support, it's got plenty of room to go. So who knows?
Yeah, I grabbed some Rune at 1.6 something, probably 1.65 or something. I like it at these prices. I also grabbed some Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't think can't go wrong at these prices.
Yeah.
Over the long term. In fact, it's funny. I randomly was on a live stream last night. A friend of mine who does a show, but it's more, they're all like mental health professionals and whatnot. But they talk, society as well. And they, I guess, dragged me in for a different perspective and really even talk some financials. And at the end, he basically asked me about crypto and then kind of like asked me, one of the viewers asked me if there was a project that I was kind of like bag holding that, I basically was going to hold until it, rallied again. I was like, honestly, Rune is probably the only coin I'm actually technically down on that I truly believe in. I'm not going to sell at a loss. And the irony was we had somehow fallen into a conversation about like Marvel movies, and it really just somehow became about the Thor movies. And I was like, oh yeah, and it's called Thor Chain. I was like, you guys will love this.
Yeah.
It's like, buy it for that reason. The fact that it's called Thor Chain.
Right.
But it's true. Like, my hypothesis on why I hold Rune is the same as it was from day one. I don't know. Maybe that should change. Maybe it shouldn't, but I'm still a fan. So yeah, Rune, Bitcoin, definitely, adding to those. Those are really the only two I added to outside of, whatever it was a few months ago now. I also bought some Atom just because I wanted some exposure to Cosmos.
Nice.
But yeah, I should probably grab more Bitcoin.
Yeah, I did buy some Hive yesterday. Loading up on Hive and HBD for the Oracle, just trying to get as much liquidity as I can.
Nice.
Yeah. HBD's been nice though, because I've been buying it up and then you get those random spikes. And I've been able to sell a good amount, well over $1, like $1.10 in a lot of cases. When that happened, I think it happened twice in the last like month. So I was able to sell and then buy back under $1 again. So I think my average entry on HBD is around 99 cents, probably about 99.5 cents. So it's nice to buy a stable coin for less than $1. It's just guaranteed money.
True.
But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in the Fed meeting. So I mean, this is basically how it's always been. I don't know if you are gonna, you agree with how this is gonna go, but if we get, because everyone's expecting 75, so if we get 75 or less, market's gonna rip higher. If we get anything higher than 75, market's gonna tank. Are you pretty much in agreement with that?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So I mean, yeah, anything less than 75, market definitely rips.
Right.
I don't think that's happening though. And that's why the market definitely would rip, because no one would see that coming. I mean,
you
I
should
don't
do
think
a
anyone
74
really...
basis point raise.
That would be, yeah. I mean, yeah, why's it got to be like these round numbers? That'd be hilarious.
Just see what the market does. It's
right.
74, not 75. Let's
confuse
fucking Bitcoin goes to 30,000.
Yeah. Speaking of, I forgot. I actually have a limit order sitting out on whatever random exchange to buy Bitcoin at like 16,007, I think, something like that. It's just like a random little pivot point that's below the current level. that I'd seen on the charts. I'm like, yeah, maybe we'll just get like, in case we get an intraday spike or some shit like that. I think that was when I was, when we had the big red candle on the 13th, like a week ago.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, we can get one big red candle with a spike and, get down there. So trying to be smarter about that because I've missed so many of those over the years. But yeah, man, this is real interesting. I mean, it is sitting on support right now. It's right there, 19K, 18 and change.
Michael
So,
Saylor likes eating Bitcoin under 20K.
He does. Yeah, they just bought more.
Yep. It was a pretty small buy,
so
but
much.
I think it was 300 Bitcoins at $6 million.
It's crazy.
Funny how that's a small buy.
So crazy, right? So
small buy for them.
Exactly. Cool.
And then I just saw this. Just want to end it with a little news piece. NASDAQ now launching their own crypto custody solution, Fidelity offering Bitcoin custody and retirement, BlackRock offering access to Bitcoin for institutions, and Citadel launching a crypto trading platform. A lot of people have said that when institutions jump into Bitcoin and crypto, it's going to be off to the races for 100K plus. And it seems like we've kind of slowly started to get that. And that's, a lot of this stuff, cool thing about a bull market and a bear market is that a lot of this stuff comes together in a bear market. And then you see the pricing in of it in the bull market. So, if you're paying attention to kind of these, not the mainstream news where they're talking all sorts of FUD about Bitcoin and crypto, but paying more attention to these kind of like hidden stories, because they get buried by FUD. These are actually the positive news stories about crypto growing and technology growing and adoption growing. And if you're paying attention to that stuff, crypto seems pretty bullish. You also got to tweak your outlook and look at, instead of 5 weeks and, all the FUD that you see about the Fed meeting and stuff, look at 5 years and the positive news about adoption, trading platforms and all the other stuff happening in the industry. Things get a lot more interesting when you change your mindset a little bit about crypto.
Indeed. I posted the AMA recap, but I actually forgot to finish it out. So edit mode, there we go. I didn't put anything really under the last topic. Oops. Are things auto posting to Twitter again or no?
No, we still need to fix that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just stopped even using it. Anyway, so yeah, I'll drop this in chat. So the recap post is out.
Love it. Go upvote the cat.
No.
But only upvote him after he makes a thread.
Already did. I was threading like 30 minutes ago. And honestly, I was getting distracted because I started responding to a bunch of threads. I responded to like 2 or 3 threads.
It's pretty fun to use threads. Sometimes I'll just sit here and look through and reply to a bunch of threads, and a bunch of time goes by, and I'm like, wow.
But yeah,
it's actually fun. Web3 is fun.
Web3 is fun. Yeah. Well, I guess it caters to our attention span. Because I'm not gonna lie, like, I love Addicted's posts, but I struggle to read through them. I I vote on all of them, but I probably read about a third of them. So really just the ones that really are like in regard to something that I'm specifically interested in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the Fidelity thing's huge. I was talking to people about that recently when I saw that. I was like, holy crap. I was like, that just opened up Bitcoin to millions and millions and millions of users. And that's like, that alone right there is why I'm not selling Bitcoin. Because the bottom line is, we got all these people with accounts of Fidelity, like they're going to throw a little bit of money into Bitcoin, like a percentage of them, even if it's only 15% of their account base. That is still millions of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know how you have the patience for that addicted. I don't even like proofreading my 350 word posts.
I usually don't proofread. That's my trick.
I kind of stopped, but I just can't help it. It's the somewhat like editor in me from, I guess, the paid writing days. Um, but I still miss sometimes because sometimes I'll just do a quick skim. But like even the when soon recap, I was writing it out on the fly, and then I looked back at it, reread it through it, fixed like 4 grammatical errors, and then off it went. So, but it's all
Yeah,
about quality of information. As
100%.
Grant Cardone once said, "I didn't write a best written book. I wrote a best selling book." Which I don't remember which book it was. I don't know if it was when 10x first came out. I think it was whatever his first book was. I'm not sure if that's 10x. I think it might have been, but he said he was just like, I literally got emails from people that like full correction of his book, like sent his the book back with like full edit done essentially, and that was his response. Like, someone's like, "Oh, this book would be so much better if you fix it." And he's just like, "I didn't write a best written book. I wrote a best selling book."
Yeah. He's
And he's
not
not
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, the perfectionist in me, like, that makes me cringe a little bit, but I also realize like I need to embrace more of that
Yeah.
because the perfectionism is what slows you down. You
100%.
take less you take less leaps, you take too long to decide. You're usually
Yeah.
not
Sometimes you just
aggressive
got to
enough.
leap, jump in, figure it out
Exactly.
later.
Just go for it. As Stallone once said in a really cheesy 80s movie called Over the Top, go for it. Classic. Alrighty then. Looks
Sweet.
like we're caught up on everything.
Yeah. I haven't seen any
Um,
questions. So,
Next week, there will only be an AMA on Tuesday. If someone can coax McSpadden into making a guest host appearance, unless Cal
yep.
decides to go solo, maybe you can get Neil to come back for a week.
Yeah.
As of
We need him.
as of right now, I will be offline and
All right.
away from home.
Yeah.
But
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Either that or, push it back or something. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It's
yeah,
gonna be sad to
yeah,
do the AMA without Mitch, but we'll figure it out.
I'll be yeah, because I'll be back. I don't think like late Thursday, so it'd have to be Friday of next week. But I don't know. I think a mixed spreadsheet appearance. I think mixed spreadsheet can be coaxed into coming back for guest appearances. I don't um, see him as a weekly regular anymore.
Yeah, he's
That's
gotten
what
too rich.
that exactly. This is why Cal keeps Cub price low. So Cat needs to keep coming on AMA. Soon
That's
as
funny.
Cub $1 retired with mixed spreadsheet.
Everyone's retired. We'll all go to Leo
uh,
Island. The
I'll
only
send a
requirement will be that you have to be on the AMA once a week.
There you go. I'll send a cat representative. Oh, good times. Nope. In the meantime, I'm trying to make all that money from real estate. That's why
There you
I'm going
go.
to be out of town. More real estate. Selling one, buying one, helping get one rent ready because it's taking way too long and it's annoying me.
Hustling. I like to hear
Yeah.
it.
So, and then
Love to hear it.
hell, I had someone actually hit me up about vacant land in East Long Island, and it was actually well priced. He's like, "You do any development?" I was like, "No, but I know some people." So if you, Cal, if you get the itch to build some houses on Long Island, might have found the land for you.
Okay. Yeah. I like
What am I?
I like building.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's basically the town right next to the Hamptons. And I was actually surprised at the price of the land.
Wow.
And I think it is enough land to break up into 5 lots.
Subdivide, little subdivision. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like, it was only like 75K. I was like, what? And there's houses like on the backside of all that land. I was like, this is really interesting. I'm like, this isn't my thing, but I'm interested.
Yeah. The only thing about subdividing is how expensive it gets with the sewer water lines. But
oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you can make the unit economics work, it's really good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to do a little research to see what the home prices are in that town, but I don't assume that they're, you know, low end at all. So what did it say? 65K. That's got to be some like middle Pennsylvania type stuff. Oh yeah, from California, it's a whole
add a zero to the end of that, and you're living in a poor neighborhood in California.
Exactly. Like 65K, that is, I mean, shit, that's cheaper than even like the rural-ish areas that I'm investing in Massachusetts.
Yeah, there's nothing for 65,000 around me.
That is, I mean, again, we don't know if it's also a house that is, you know, completely like, you know, it's like a gut or something like that.
Like a foreclosure or something.
But even like, you know, I owned that one property with McSpreadsheet and Aggie in Pennsylvania, and you know, we spent like 90K on it, I think. But this is also like 3 years ago, and it was just a small little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. In fact, I don't even think it was technically zoned as like a regular house. I think it was actually a manufactured home that looked like a regular house. But yeah, 65K. There you go. Got to move to Pennsylvania. Addicted can move to Pennsylvania and live like a king.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, real estate's a whole nother conversation. Definitely seeing some softening in prices and the ability to negotiate. The one we're buying, honestly, we got it for 20K less than I thought we would. And that shit just was not happening even 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Like I was like, wait, we can negotiate again?
You can't, it's not going to a bidding war?
Exactly. Like, wait, what is happening right now? I'm looking forward to it actually. So
yeah, me too. I want to buy a lot of properties.
I need the problem is it'd be nice if crypto is high right now so I could use some of that money for more real estate, because I don't want to sell any crypto low. There will be no selling of low crypto. So, all right, cool. So yeah, potential hiatus next week. Let's see if we can get McSpreadsheet to make an appearance. I think we can. I'll poke him.
Okay.
So I won't. My ego's not that fragile. Although when he comes back next week, I'm sure Tony Montana will be like, "Sweet, we don't even need the cat to come back."
Nah.
He loves the McSpreadsheet.
He does.
So cool deal.
Sweet.
All right. Well,
all right. Well, I'll see you the week after next week, maybe then.
Indeed. Right. There you go. Group AMA next week.
Yeah, maybe we could do something like that. We'll have people just jump on and ask me questions. Maybe
that'd be fun.
Yeah, switch it up a little. We'll figure it out.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Laters.
See ya.